People sentenced in the 80s to 2000s. What modern world change shocked you the most? I remember getting the bus years ago and this old bloke got on heading away from town center towards the more residential areas. Without a second thought he sparked up a cigar. One of the passengers told him you can't smoke on a bus. He had apologized and quickly stubbed it out but said he got discharged from prison that day. And when he went in you could smoke anywhere you wanted, so this was a massive culture shock too. Hi monsieur. You have been sentenced to 10 years for smoking on the bus. Aw fuck. Anthony Ray Hinton described people walking around looking at down these things in their hands, phones, and amazingly not bumping into each other. Ow. On the day you were released, your best friend, Lester, who had visited you every single week for nearly 30 years, picked you up. You'd been behind bars since 1985, so you got in his car. And what was the first thing you wanted to do? RH. Lester thought I'd want to get something decent to eat, but I wanted to go where they laid my mother's body. I see him messing with the radio dial. Then we start driving down the road. I heard this little white lady say, in 1/10 of a mile, turn right. I jumped and said, what the hell? Quote, ow. You thought there was a white lady in the car? RH. Yes. And Lester's laughing so hard he has to pull over. He says, that's a GPS. When he explained what it does, it really hit me how long I'd been locked up. The world had changed. Imagine if he had set the voice to a celebrity's. Got a call from a woman filing a claim on some abandoned funds. I got all her information and then asked for an email address and she said, what's email? I keep hearing about it. But you gotta understand I've been in prison a long time. I'm honestly surprised there aren't mandatory classes in prison that help keep people up to date on current events and technologies. It would go a long way to help ex-cons function normally in society once they get out. And isn't that the whole goal of the prison system? Do you think they'd cover modern memes in juvie? Finally, a good idea on how to get community service hours. Prisoner transfer. I did one time for this man who was sentenced to life in 1968. And it's the first time he'd driven past the CN Tower in Toronto and he couldn't believe how tall it was. That and he was blown away by how many different car brands there were. Fuck, 1968 is a long time. Especially in Canada. My dad was sentenced 8 years for manslaughter. He got off easy. My cousin's husband, that she married while he was serving 10 years beginning around 2008, wanted the first thing he did as a free man was to go to Hollywood Video and rent movies to watch with her. Then she blew his mind with Netflix. At least, the idea of Netflix and chill wasn't far from his original plan. But he was shocked about there not being video stores anymore. I'm guessing his mind isn't the only thing she blew that night. That's my cousin Nair talk, and just kidding, can confirm, neither of them have a filter or shame. Without sounding disrespectful, what made her marry someone while they were serving time? Did she already know him? I'd imagine that would be a very difficult decision to commit yourself to someone you know you can't properly be with for 10 years. You don't have to answer if this question is too personal. They dated before he got busted. She's somehow responsible for getting busted. My friend's older brother was jailed in 1994 and served 15 years. He said when he went in, anyone with an in-car phone was super rich. And to then see absolutely everyone have a completely cordless, pocket-sized phone was amazing. He also said that all the TV adverts had websites to visit, or were for completely online stores, which were a bit of an alien concept, as he'd never really seen or used the internet. He also found the chip and pin process of paying for things on a bank card extremely exciting. Edit. I'm unfortunately not in touch with the friend anymore after an incident with the haddock and the umbrella, so I can't get any further answers to your questions about his brother. Last I heard was around 2012, and he seemed to be doing okay, and had a job and a place to live. Edit again. Okay, the haddock umbrella story. When Danny and I were about 12-13s, we used to play stupid pranks on each other. Glitter down the back, tipping yogurt into a coat hood on a rainy day, that sort of stuff. Over the space of about a year, the pranks got more and more harsh. I played a good one with a bag of flour. That was very funny, especially when he said he was finding flour in his ears and nose with every shower for about a week afterwards. To get his revenge, Danny got hold of a haddock and decided to hide it in my house. Now, up until this point, our parents had not been involved much, but this one was different. He hid this haddock under the shoe rack in my house. After a day or so, the smell was awful and my family and I searched for this fish. We found it pretty easily and got rid of it. We then aired the house fully and used air fresheners, etc. My parents were pretty annoyed with me and said the pranks had gone too far as the house stank of fish. For a few days after, we aired the house constantly, but the fish smell wouldn't go away. We couldn't understand why, since we'd got rid of the offending mixture after 4 days of living with this hideous stench. We then found a second haddock, hidden in a closed-up umbrella. This one had gone rotten and had ruined the umbrella too. Danny had said he hid two. One in a somewhat easy place to find, and one in a difficult place, so that when we found the first one, we'd stop looking. My parents went nuts at me, and the house smelled awful for about 2 weeks after. I was grounded for 2 weeks, and unfortunately took out my frustrations on Danny, and had a massive go at him about how he stepped over a line, and I was in trouble and it was his fault, etc. We didn't really speak again. Shame really, as he was a good kid, and his idea, in hindsight, was genius. I would have done it without hesitating if I'd had the idea. I overreacted and we stopped being friends. Haven't seen him since I left high school. If he's impressed by chips and pins, wait until tap comes your way. No pin, just a card held to debit machine until you hear a beep. No matter what year you go in, when you come out and stand on carpet for the first time is the most disturbing feeling. Oh whoa, I felt this one. And darkness. Being able to be in 100% darkness again freaked me TF out for a while. Darkness, complete silence, showering without sandals, couches, chairs with cushions, and a bed that's actually long enough for me. Those were such odd yet amazing feelings to experience again. Knew a guy who was blown away by digital cameras. He had purchased an old, terrible one and couldn't get over how amazing it was. Cameras truly have come a long way, and hear people on Instagram trying to find ~15 ~30 years old cameras for aesthetic. I was talking to a lady who runs the education for a federal prison in Florida. She said when they start getting rambunctious or off topic, she mentions a new feature of the newest iPhone and all of a sudden they're very interested in what she has to say again. That's pretty clever. I hired a guy that was released after 17 years, circa 2005. A week after he started working, he bought a phone. He had a childlike wonder with push-to-talk and texting. A week later he was pissed off that he couldn't text his order into Hungry Howie's. TBH, valid thing to be pissed off about. Wait, this guy is right, greater than sad face. Why can't we text orders? Because here's what would happen. Customer, 2 med PEPRN 16 wings thanks. Pizza place, thank you for your order. Our pizzas come in small, 12 inches, and large, 15 inches. Which size did you want? Did you mean our spicy pepper delight deal or the pepperoni? Can I also please take your delivery address? Customer, NA Coke. This made me irrationally angry. A co-worker a few years ago had spent 10 years in jail. He got out right when Bluetooth headsets for phones were huge. He'd talk about all the random conversations he thought people were trying to have with him, and smartphones freaked him the hell out. Well, tell him it's okay. I was confused a few times by those two. Once I thought a woman had a mental problem because she was talking to herself. Then she turned and I saw the earpiece. A friend said his dad's friend tried VR after about 30 years in prison for like second-degree murder or something, and he got scared, fell over and broke the headset. Obligatory, not me. But in the early 2000s I worked with a guy that was sentenced in the mid-80s and had just come out. He told me the first time he went to a men's room he spent several minutes looking for the handle to flush. Motion sensor toilets was completely alien to him, monsieur. Motion sensor toilets is still completely alien to me. I thought you meant he didn't know what to do with the button flush. Or the 3 seashells. There was that documentary of someone who was sentenced in the 70s. Otis, I think. And he just couldn't believe the stuff he was seeing. Since he lived in New York, with all the screens, it was just a different city than all the different colored drinks and people wearing earphones like they were in the Secret Service. It's an interesting thing to watch. I was pretty surprised at the rise of e-commerce. I never thought it would be more convenient than a brick-and-mortar store. I was sentenced to some community service in 1997 for a traffic violation. The world up and got itself in a big damn hurry. My friend got out of jail recently and was blown away by how many LEDs are everywhere on how many stores are using insane amounts of LED billboards. We were all at a buddy's house and he was blinded by all the bright LED light in the house. Edit. Getting a lot of messages about this. My friend has crazy bright LED bulbs in his kitchen. You can see this guy's kitchen from space. Also, the one sign that he couldn't believe was an H&M LED wall. Not me. But one of the most astounding changes I hear one of my dad's friends talking about is how having big gases was shameful and all models were flat. Now it's the other way around. Sir, mix a lot's impact, I'd assume. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.